The performance that you get inside of the Ioniq 5N is unbelievable. Having said that, you still will get really good performance inside of other trim levels of the Ioniq 5. It's just that if you're an adrenaline junkie, the 5N is absolutely where you want to be. The color choice here is stunning. It's performance blue matte. And rather than it being a metallic paint, it's exactly that. It's a matte paint which looks stunning in person. Pricing for the Ioniq 5 in general is going to start at $58,500 in Canada versus $43,100 down in the States, and that's going to go up depending on how you have it built out. The 5N that we're looking at here is going to start in Canada at $90,000 versus a little over $63,000 down in the States. So you really have to figure out, is the added performance really worth it? And I think for the right person, it absolutely is. So the performance is absolutely insane and I love it. But the rear-wheel drive versions of the vehicle are going to be cheaper than the all-wheel drive versions, obviously, but you're also going to get better range. So that's something you're going to have to figure out in a trade-off to see which way you end up going. As I mentioned, the Ioniq 5 is going to be rear-wheel drive standard with the option of moving into an all-wheel drive system instead. Whether you go rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive is going to depend on where you live, because if you're in southern states, you can get away with rear-wheel drive no problem. Northern states, or if you're in Canada like me, you're going to want to go for the all-wheel drive version unless this is just going to be a spring, summer, fall vehicle for you. But if you're driving year-round where you might get snow, all-wheel drive is definitely the way to go. But when you look at the 5N, strictly going to be available all-wheel drive, and there are there are so many other unique aspects of this specific vehicle. 21-inch wheels are going to be the only option inside of the 5N versus the 19 or 20s in the lower trims. On top of that, 4-piston brake calipers inside of this for improved braking performance, because if you're taking this on the track, you absolutely want that better handling. And this is absolutely a track-ready car. You can drift with it, launch control. There are so many incredible features you're going to find inside of the 5N. Similar to a lot of other Hyundai vehicles, the Ioniq 5 is loaded with technology. Depending on the trim that you get, like there's a lot of safety technology, like you'll have the blind spot monitoring system, smart cruise control, pre-collision assist systems. But as you move up to the higher trims, so the preferred in Canada with the Ultimate package, the limited down in the States, or the fully loaded N, there's so much more. You've got the forward sensing system there. There's a front-facing camera that go along with the side-mounted cameras for a beautiful 360 view. On top of that, when you get into the higher trims of the vehicle, there's also the option for the remote smart parking assistant. So many other unique features as well. But the styling that you get inside of the Ioniq 5 is beautiful. And like the 5N has even more highlights. Active grille shutters. When you look at the actual grille itself, it's so beautiful. The headlamps pop so nicely. There's a beautiful red highlight that follows all the way throughout pretty much the entire vehicle, which again just really makes this pop and really punctuates that this is an N version of the Ioniq 5. Underneath the hood of the Ioniq 5, on hydraulics to start, which is fantastic, but there's not much that's visible under here. So you've got the option of topping up your fluids along the left side and the smaller battery along the right. There's a little cover here, but there's no frunk inside the vehicle, so no functional space. And that's just because of all the technology that's kind of stuffed underneath. You've got a series of different options for the actual powertrain of the vehicle. So down in the States, there's a 58 kilowatt hour entry level, but outside of that, it's either a 77.4 or this 84 instead. So the overall power range that you get is going to depend on the trim that you're in. This one is the 84 kilowatt hour N. And what that translates to power-wise is 601 horsepower and 545 pound-feet of torque. But there's a nice little drive mode that's the NGB. So it's a little red button, almost makes me feel like a man in black. But you push that and that's the N Grin Boost. And what that does is bump you up about 40 extra horsepower and a little over 20 pound-feet of torque extra. It's the mode that you want to go into if you feel like having a heart attack while you drive. And we're going to do a little 0 to 60 test here in 3, 2, and... Oh my God, went 100. What? Oh my God. Ah! My eyes are watering. That was amazing. Oh, that's amazing. Ah, Hyundai. Damn. Oh, man. That was unbelievable. I get why they called it the grin boost mode, because you put your foot down and you are smiling ear to ear. I honestly felt like the Joker when I had my foot down. It was incredible. Now, when you look at the warranty inside of the Hyundai world, it's pretty solid. In Canada, the basic and powertrain are a 5-year, 100,000 kilometers. Down in the States, your basic is a 5-year, 60,000 mile, with the powertrain getting bumped up to an impressive 10-year, 100,000 mile coverage. It is incredible. And then for EV hybrid components, you're looking at an 8-year, 100,000 mile, 160,000 kilometers worth of coverage, which is amazing. And as always, one of the big benefits of having an EV is how little maintenance you actually have to do. It's pretty wild. Top up your wiper fluid, change out your tires. You're going to need it a bit more if you push the N a little bit, but outside of that, that's really it. So you're going to save yourself a boatload of cash with maintenance. You just want to make sure you're taking care of your ride, and this car will absolutely take care of you. Charging for the Ioniq 5 is done just along the passenger side. You can open it up from the outside here, and you can also open it up just to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. So there's a button to open and close. The Ioniq 5 does support level 1, level 2, and level 3 DC supercharging up to 350 kilowatts. So the overall charge times are going to depend on which version of the vehicle that you're in. Are you in the smaller 58? Are you in the 77.4 or the 84 kilowatt version of the N? But it's going to depend on your overall power draw. So at home, I don't have a level 2 charger, so it takes brutally long to charge electrics. So as an example, average level 1 is going to be about a 1 kilowatt hour draw, which means that to charge this from 0 to 100 is about 84 hours. If you're using something like a public charger or a charger at work, those typically charge at around 7-ish kilowatt hours instead, which means that you're 12-ish hours to charge up, assuming you're getting the max charging capabilities. So overall charge times are good, but the question of, do you look at a level 2 charger at home or not, is going to depend on your driving habits. Because if you're only traveling 20, 30, 40 kilometers or miles per day, you could plug in overnight, and for the most part, you're going to be good to just charge up as you go there. But if you're traveling 50, 100 kilometers, 100 miles-ish a day, you're absolutely going to want to invest in a level 2 charger unless you've got somewhere that you can plug in close to work. Otherwise, it's going to drive you nuts. The overall range that you get inside the vehicle is going to depend on the version that you're in. The 58 kilowatt hour version of the vehicle is going to get 220 miles. We don't have that option in Canada. Rear wheel drive is where you're going to get the best bang for your buck inside of the vehicle. That one you're looking at 303 miles or 488 kilometers. When you jump up to the all-wheel drive version, that's going to be 260 miles or 414 kilometers. And then inside of the N version, it's 221 miles or 356 kilometers. But that's also going to be based off of your driving habits. Are you in the eco mode, the normal, or the sport mode? If you're in sport mode and you use the N Grin Boost mode, that's going to subtract from your overall economy that you're going to get. So you're going to get less range the more you use those features. The more you use things like air conditioning and things like that, that's going to subtract from your overall range. So that's just something that you have to take into account. That's nice. I love the aggressiveness of the back end of the Ioniq 5N. The regular Ioniq 5 still does look really good. It's just that the 5N, it just looks so much nicer. The spoiler in the back looks fantastic. I really like what Hyundai's done with the lower part of the back end of this, and that little red stripe follows all the way throughout as well. There is some technology you're going to find in the back regardless of the trim level of the vehicle that you're in. So you're always going to have the backup sensing system, so the rear parking sensor. You're always going to have the backup camera and the rear wiper as well, along with this really funky cyberpunk-esque brake light in the back. And your turn signal lights, etc. It's really, really neat the way that Hyundai's done this. It's good, but yeah, all of the, like, just basic styling wise, all of the gloss that you get along the top follows through beautifully with what's going on in the bumper. You can technically tow in this vehicle. You can't tow much, so it's really if you want to put on like a bike rack carrier, towing a very small trailer, but it is possible just doing something aftermarket, but that's going to cut down in your overall range if you are towing. Getting into the trunk of the vehicle can be done a few different ways. So there's a button to the left-hand side of the steering wheel. You can use the fob. There's a button just to the right-hand side of the backup camera. And then you've also got the option for the smart liftgate. So as long as the feature is enabled, you get about 10 to 15 feet away for about 10 to 15 seconds. And if the key fob's in your pocket and let's say you've got a handful of things, or you just don't want to dig through your pocket, purse, whatever the case may be, walk up to the back end here. Smart trunk, such a useful feature. Absolutely love it. And this is the highest that it's going to be able to go. So you do have the flexibility to custom set your own level if you'd like to. And then through the infotainment system, you can also choose how high or how low this thing is going to open up. So that is available. There's nothing really off to the right side. Off to the left, there's a teeny little 12-volt power point. But outside of that, before I fold down the seats, just the regular carpeted liner here that you can technically slide out if you really wanted to. But underneath, you've got the charge cable that comes right from the factory, which is very useful. So a 20-foot cable, support for level 1. The portable charger that comes with the Ioniq 5 is also IP67 weather rated. And what that means is, well, it can't be fully submerged. Getting it wet, splashed on, snowy conditions, whatever the case may be, it's okay. And then off to the right side, there's also the tire mobility kit. So you don't have a spare tire that's available inside of the Ioniq 5, regardless of the trim level of the vehicle that you're in. So if you ever pop a tire, puncture a tire, if your battery's died and you need a boost, you've locked yourself out, you do have access to Hyundai Roadside Assistance, and that's good for 5 years, unlimited mileage in North America, which is useful just in case. But folding down the second row seats can't actually be done from the trunk area. You have to go into the second row to do it. And there's a lever along the side of the seat. You're just going to pull that in order to fold the seat down. And the cargo measurements that you're looking at here, specifically for behind the first row, that's going from right where the liftgate would close to just in behind the armrest between the first row seats. So if the driver's seat, passenger seat were backwards a little bit or forwards, you'd gain or lose a little bit of extra space. But there is a boatload of space that's available inside of this ride. Then there's one thing about lifting up the second row seats. So once the seat is down, it's actually locked into place. And a lot of Hyundai vehicles are like that. So in order to raise the seat up, that same lever that you use in order to fold the seat down, you're just going to grab that and pull in order to raise the seat up instead. The Ioniq 5 is not a big vehicle by any stretch. I'm 6 feet tall and I'm absolutely towering over this car. Lower profile, but even still, getting into the first row and the second row, it's not difficult by any stretch. Oh. Super simple to do. I just love all of the space that's in the second row, which I'll show you in a second. Love that. Turn signals right inside of the side view mirrors. As you saw, they're power folding. It has the blind spot monitoring system. And then this one also has the side mounted cameras as well for that full 360 view. But as you saw there, as you walk up to the vehicle, door handles are going to pop out automatically. Oh, but popping inside. Beautiful. This is the end trim level of the vehicle, which is why it looks so sporty in comparison to the rest of the Ioniq 5 lineup. But it's basic. You've got your door handle there, all of your side view mirror controls, window controls, a little bit of door storage as well. This one is the upgraded Bose audio system, which I'll let you listen to in a bit. A few buttons along the outside there. You can increase or decrease the brightness of the cluster screen, toggle traction control off, open or close the trunk. You can pop open the charge door, auto hold. With that one engaged, if you have if you come down to a complete stop, take your foot off the brake, the car's not moving. Then there's also the electronic parking brake. You're always going to be a manual telescoping steering wheel inside of the Ioniq 5. There are sport pedals down there, and that's just because this is the end trim level of the vehicle. And that's the same way with that center stack, the console, but I'll show you that one in a second. This is the sport bucket seat, and I gotta say, the seat is incredibly comfortable. But there are a few different seating materials you're gonna find inside of the Ioniq 5 lineup. So cloth seats, leatherette seats, and then this one is the sport bucket seat instead. The only downside to this sport bucket seat is that it's manual across the board. So slide it forward and backward, lift the seat up and down, and then adjust the backrest. But it's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make for the performance. Oh, hold on, watch a little start up. Look at this. Oh, damn, that looks nice. All right, but before we get there, so like I said, there's a boatload of space inside this vehicle. So the seat's as far down as it's going to go. And with the driver's seat, set up this way, look at this, like 5+ inches of headspace inside of this ride. There is a boatload of space, and I'm 6 feet tall. So if you're any taller than that, you're not going to have an issue fitting inside of this ride whatsoever. And the seat is so comfortable. That's one thing I love about sport bucket seats. These ones remind me of a good set of Recaros. It just hugs the body so nicely. But like I said, the downside is that they're not going to be power adjustable, strictly manual. But if you're in the lower trims, well, any trim outside of the N line pretty much, you're looking at a power driver seat instead. But you still have nice amenities like heated ventilated seats and a few others. But there are so many things. Now, a few things that are going to be standard across the board. You're always going to have a 12.3-inch cluster screen and a 12.3-inch infotainment screen. The cluster here looks slightly different just because this is the Ioniq 5N. So it's going to look a little bit different when you get into other trim levels of the vehicle, but there are so many different options. Yeah, cluster theme selection, yeah, simple. So simpler classic. So that's probably what you're looking at if you don't have the end trim level of the Ioniq 5. But it all functions the same. So you've got your speedometer, tachometer, whatever the case may be. But if you want a full walkthrough, like you want to know how to use all the different buttons, use the cruise control system or the infotainment system, you'll find walkthroughs down in the description of this video. But there are so many things. Paddle shifters here with the option 4, one pedal drive, or I-pedal drive, I should say. So yeah, I guess it is. It's one pedal drive. You really only have to worry about using the accelerator. From there are 2 unique buttons that you can set up. So you can switch between custom modes, turn on. So this one is for launch control and a few other things. So you've got the flexibility of adjusting what these buttons do. This one is going to be your traditional drive mode selector. So do you want to be economically conscious? You want your normal mode or sport mode for better performance? This is the end trim level, so you do have a boatload of performance available, but when you get into this mode, yeah, N grid boost, so not available just because I'm parked right now, but as you start driving, you can activate this one. And inside of the N, it gives you like a 50 horsepower boost and an extra 20+ pound-feet of torque. It is a boatload of fun. Like the 0 to 60 in this is amazing, especially when you're in that boost mode. Absolutely love it. Oh, I know why they called it the Gren Boost, because you're going to be smiling the entire time. It's amazing. You've got a shift by wire there as well. So rather than a traditional gear shift or a stock shifter, you've got your drive, neutral, reverse, and then park as well. But the reverse is really cool. Well, whether you're in reverse or not. So like you can even just pushing that button down the center stack there to bring up your 360 camera. But you've got forward view, reverse views, different options for each, including a split view on the side, so you can see what's going on around you. But yeah, you've got that 360 spin out view instead. I honestly, I love the way that Hyundai's designed this. The look of it is fantastic. It gets me every time I look at it. I love it. The Ioniq 5 also has park assist, so you could push this button if you wanted to bring up your 360 camera, or you could do a longer push and hold in order to activate park assist. It can help with parallel park in and out and perpendicular park as well. It's a really useful system. But the infotainment system here is loaded. You've got factory navigation inside the vehicle, support for AM, FM, Sirius XM, USB audio as always. I mentioned there's factory nav. You can hook up Android Auto, Apple CarPlay wirelessly now inside of this ride, which is about time. I love that Hyundai's done that. But while this is loading up, hold on, let's go media. There are 2 different speaker choices available inside of the Ioniq 5. So it's either going to be a 6-speaker standard system, and then there's an 8-speaker Bose system that's available there as well. But the audio inside of this ride is really, really good. Okay, so let's go. There we go. Just imagine playing that at the track going like 220. It's just ridiculous. But the audio that you're listening to is coming right out of the microphone, so there's no post-processing done whatsoever. It's just that the audio, and like I said, the audio inside of this ride is so good. All right, hold on. Just coming out of the microphone, no post-processing done.
Figure out what else we succeed, and then invest all of my time into that and proceed. I need whatever the hell could make me happy, and I don't think you have a clue what could that be. They tell me that I'm never gonna make it. They want me to do something that can make sense.
The audio inside of this is so good. Like the cabin is small, which absolutely helps, but the 8-speaker Bose audio system is really good all at the same time. Love it. Yeah, like there's so many different things that you can do inside of the screen. So full walkthrough down below. There's dual zone climate control inside the vehicle. You're obviously push button start. A few different charge ports down there as well. Kind of neat. So you can go between like a charge mode as well as a data transfer, or strictly a charge mode. There's a wireless charge pad. And since this is the end version of the vehicle, you've also got these. So specifically for your knees. So as you're taking hard corners, and it's kind of on both sides as well, you can really force yourself into it just to kind of give yourself a little bit of added support as you're drifting, going around tight corners, whatever the case may be. It's going to look slightly different though in the other trim levels of the vehicle. You've also got another USB power point, 12 volt power point with a few cup holders down there as well. Or actually I wonder, does that go further? Yeah, it goes a little bit further back. A little bit of storage there and there, and decent amount of storage as well. Shooting across to the side, you've got this nice little highlight. I love that little blue highlight there, and the blue stitching that follows through. And that goes through the steering wheel as well. So the driver door all the way throughout the dash, you can see there. There's also a head-up display. So you're going to find the head-up display in some trim levels, and that's the same way with a lot of things. Like even looking at the technology here, so the climate, heated ventilated first row seats available, heated steering wheel on top of that. It's really, actually, I think I turned that heated steering wheel on. Yeah, let's toggle that off. But tons of different technology you're going to find inside of this ride. Glove box has a decent-ish amount of space. Ooh, actually, look at that. Full load of space there. It's great. And then up overhead, there's an auto-dimming rearview mirror that also features a home link system. So if you've got a garage door opener at home, tow mode versus SOS mode, control all your cabin lights as well. I like that, nice and subtle. You can do all, or just one, or the other. Nice. From there, you've got a vanity mirror built into the visor, light up overhead, just typical Hyundai styling. And this stretches out to block all of the sun that might be hitting your face. There's a little holy crap handle on both the driver and the passenger side, which you will absolutely need. But I've got the driver's seat set up the way that I would traditionally drive, being 6 feet tall. So let's head back to that second row. Ooh, I love that. Oh, the color here, so good. But you've got that same highlight that you saw along the driver doors, follows back through, a little bit of storage there. If you ever need to fold the seat down to get into the trunk, just going to pull there to do it. And that also functions as an option to recline the seat. So you can pull there if you want to recline the seat as well. Ooh, and it reclines back quite a bit. Oh, it's nice. Nice and comfy. And that's one nice thing. The seats inside of the second row here, really, really comfortable. And there's a boatload of space as well. So I've got I'd say about 3 inches of head space. But with the driver's seat set up for myself being 6 feet tall, great amount of knee space and foot space as well. And because the floor's flat, you could easily fit another person here. The middle seat is the forgotten seat in every car, so it's not comfortable by any stretch. But one nice thing is that I can fit here, and I've got about half an inch of headspace there. I can fit in the middle seat of the second row, which is pretty solid, but seat comfort, definitely not there. But there are anchor points there, top tethers in the back, cup holders built right into the seat as well. And then you got a holy crap handle along both the passenger and the driver's side, along with a little clothing hook and a light up overhead. A little N badge right in the behind the seats for both the driver passenger side. And obviously, if you didn't have the N version of the vehicle, that would look slightly different. There's some power points back there. So 2 more USB Type-C. But again, the console there is going to look different. The seats are different just because of the trim level of the vehicle that I'm in right now. But you can see all this ambient light all over the place. There's the option for up to 64 colors that you can adjust through the infotainment system, depending on the trim level of the vehicle that you're in. You might have HVAC controls in the back here, again, depending on your trim, along with some door shades. You've also got the flexibility to be able to slide the whole bench. So you can do that for both the driver passenger side. So you can slide, oh wow, you can slide this bench very far forward if necessary, if you need to create a little bit more trunk space. That is available as an option. Ooh. On top of that, you might just be able to make it out down there, but there's a little power plug. So you'd have the flexibility of being able to utilize that if you wanted a little bit of extra load. So if you're glamping, you'd be able to use that, which is fantastic. But this is the end version of the Ioniq 5. So let's go for a spin and have a boatload of fun. Oh, the pure raw power inside of this car is unbelievable. Handling wise, let's try an on-ramp. Oh, this is gonna be dangerous. Oh man. If you have a lead foot, oh, the end is gonna get you into trouble for sure. I will say that the interior of the Ioniq 5 is very, very quiet. But because this is the end trim level of the vehicle, you do have the option of changing up the sound. So there are 3 unique sound choices that are available. Sounds more like a high pitch, that's supersonic. Evolution versus ignition. So ignition 100% is more like a traditional N engine. Yeah, absolutely. That would be the best way for me to describe that sound. So the ignition sound, if you wanted more of like a traditional internal combustion engine feel, that would absolutely be the way to go. Oh, I want to take this on a track so bad. I've done some fun cars on a track, but I could only imagine how much fun this would be on a track instead. Oh man, this car is dangerous in the wrong hands. In like the best way, because it is so damn powerful. Not that I'm not complaining. I absolutely love the power. I can respect the power. It is just really, really damn good. You can find a build link for this Ioniq 5 down in the description with links off to Hyundai Canada and US. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and until I see you next time, take care.